If you're a global sourcing director, I'm willing to bet there's a pretty massive question keeping you up at night right now. Where exactly is the future of Indian manufacturing heading? And more importantly, how does it fit into your long-term supply chain strategy? Well, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to dive deep into Bengal's leather legacy, and we're treating this as a pure, objective investment thesis for global buyers. Look, the stakes of ignoring this region are just incredibly high. Seriously, what happens to your supply chain if West Bengal actually steps up and becomes India's next big manufacturing powerhouse? If your competitors are locking in premium, low-cost contracts while you're still hunting around elsewhere, you're looking at a massive strategic disadvantage. So we need to figure out whether the region's leather industry is going to capture this global opportunity or if it's going to lose out to some pretty fierce regional competitors.
To do that, we've put together a highly structured market assessment for you. Today, we're going to cover the global sourcing shift, map out Bengal's manufacturing base, dive into the green leather opportunity, look neutrally at the sourcing risks, and wrap up with a 5-year buyer outlook.
All right, let's jump right into part 1, the global sourcing shift. It all really kicks off with the China Plus One strategy. We all know this isn't just a buzzword anymore, right? Global buyers are actively diversifying their supply chains away from China. Brands aren't just hunting for the absolute cheapest option like they used to. They're demanding alternative countries that offer lower geopolitical risk and highly sustainable production bases. What we're witnessing is a massive, historic reallocation of global manufacturing capital. And India is practically tailor-made to absorb this shift. West Bengal specifically holds some really distinct natural advantages. Beyond a deep historical expertise in leather and a highly skilled workforce, the region already has an established export ecosystem. Add in the direct proximity to the Kolkata port for seamless logistics and, crucially, lower manufacturing costs than a lot of global alternatives, and you've got a very compelling pitch. Moving on to part 2, Bengal's leather manufacturing base. Let's look at the primary asset we're evaluating today. The sheer scale here is literally staggering. We're talking about hundreds of thousands or lakhs of workers who are directly and indirectly dependent on Bang's leather manufacturing. For a global buyer, this is absolutely crucial because it proves we aren't looking at some emerging, untested sandbox. No, this is a mature ecosystem that already has the sheer volume needed to handle massive international orders. Take the Bantala leather complex, for instance. Now, this was originally created just to shift polluting tanneries out of Kolkata's city limits, but today, it's a highly integrated, modern ecosystem. It houses hundreds of tanneries and thousands of MSMEs, producing and exporting everything from handbags and wallets to footwear and industrial gloves. It's a true end-to-end production environment. Okay, part 3, the green leather opportunity. This is where things get really interesting. This right here is a total game changer, especially for European and luxury buyers. The new reality of procurement is that cheap labor just doesn't cut it anymore. Global buyers now care deeply about sustainability, wastewater treatment, their carbon footprint, traceability, and ethical sourcing. The factories that can achieve strict ESG compliance, those are the ones that are going to win the premium luxury contracts, period. The really good news for buyers eyeing Bengal is that there is heavy institutional ESG support already in play. We're talking EU sustainability programs, World Bank productivity initiatives, cleaner production projects, and government-backed footwear parks. Bantala isn't trying to figure this out alone. They are actively working towards strict global environmental compliance to attract those top-tier brands. But to truly become a premium sourcing hub, the policy side needs to step on the gas. We need to see faster approvals, easier land access, totally seamless logistics, and better MSME financing to remove the day-to-day operational friction. An aggressive, industry-focused push on these exact points is what will ultimately lock in bulletproof buyer confidence. Which brings us to part 4, sourcing risks and challenges. Because let's be real, we have to look at the whole picture. Sourcing directors have to weigh a pretty stark reality here. On one hand, West Bengal definitely has infrastructure gaps. Some MSMEs are still struggling with outdated machinery and somewhat fragmented supply chains. And on the other hand, the competition is absolutely fierce. Bengal isn't operating in a vacuum. They are fighting tooth and nail for your contracts against places like Vietnam, Bangladesh, Cambodia, and a rapidly adapting China. And then we have to talk about the severe supply chain liabilities. Look, incidents in illegal manufacturing zones have exposed some major red flags: fire risks, safety problems, and a general lack of formalization in certain pockets. You know as well as I do that global brands strictly enforce social audits today. A lax here isn't just a fine. It is a direct, headline-making threat to a brand's global reputation. All of this builds into the ultimate requirement for any sourcing director. Regardless of who is in power locally, political stability is strictly a business metric. Investors require predictable policies, industrial peace, and fast, stable administration. Without absolute predictability, it is virtually impossible to justify large-scale manufacturing growth to your board of directors. Finally, Part 5, the 5-year buyer outlook. Let's pull this all together. Based on everything we've looked at, here is your actionable 5-point rubric for assessing West Bengal over the next half-decade. 1. Monitor the speed of industrial reforms. 2. Track their environmental modernization. 3. Gauge overall global buyer confidence. 4. Verify their infrastructure execution. And 5. Assess ongoing policy stability. These 5 metrics will dictate whether this region wins your contracts. The stakes at this particular crossroads are just immense. The upside: West Bengal successfully transforms into one of Asia's biggest premium leather export centers, becoming a massive beneficiary of the China Plus One shift. The downside? Well, if reforms stall out, buyers simply aren't going to wait around. They will seamlessly shift their supply chains over to Vietnam, Bangladesh, or southern India. And that leaves us with this final thought. The deep history, the raw skill, and the massive ecosystem, that's all already there. But can policy and governance actually step up and unlock Bengal's full potential for your supply chain? It's a critical question that every smart international buyer is going to be watching very, very closely over the next 5 years. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope this structural breakdown helps bring some real clarity to your long-term sourcing strategy.